in undergrad mainly, I did start realizing that what people watch on TV and what I watch on TV, like I was critically analyzing these stereotypes, and not necessarily the negative ones. I think I'm thankful that I've never had questions like, are you a terrorist, or do you know of a terror? Like those types of things I've never really encountered. I feel like I've been othered a lot just because of the headscarf, and I'm more conscious of that than anything else. And I have 3 stories that speak to that. I was in high school, and I was a photographer in high school, and we were doing this photo club selling photos of a play. And I grew up in Brecksville, so it's a suburb in Cleveland, Ohio, white, Republican. I was the only Muslim, the only girl with the headscarf on, but it never really affected me that much. An elderly, very adorable lady comes up to our booth, and she's so excited, and she looks at me, she's just like, do you speak English? And I'm like, I don't answer, right, because I don't understand what's going on. And she's like, are you an exchange student? And I'm like, no, I'm from Brecksville. She just looks at me funny, and then she like walks away, and I'm like, okay, conversation over. And I actually just remembered that, knowing that I was going to do this. The one story that stuck with me, in undergrad I was working on this portfolio. I was designing and modeling some hijab style magazine. And so this is the image that I was asked about specifically. My professor comes up to me and is like, Nama, is this you? And I'm like, yes, it is. And then he looks at the image, and he looks at me, and he's like, you look white in this picture. You almost look American. And I was speechless. I mean, I could probably have said a lot of things that I shouldn't have said to a professor of mine, but I just look at him, and I just don't answer. And he walks away. I mean, I think he realized how that came off. And it just got me thinking. I'm like, white? Okay, white. I mean, our president isn't white. What does that mean? And then does whiteness kind of define Americanism? And then I'm like, that was just a whole new level. I mean, I know my headscarf caused a lot of problems or questions to a lot of people, and I always tried to come off like I wasn't offended, or like you could ask me whatever you want. And I had some really interesting conversations with people wanting to know why I wear it and all that. But this just blew my mind. And I mean, I know I look different, I have makeup on. I was modeling. But I didn't think before this picture I didn't look American, if anything. And that was really the time that I got to be really self-conscious about it, and I was following the rhetoric around even President Obama and the old lady who asked McCain, oh, he's an Arab, and he's like, no, he's a good family man. I'm like, what does that mean? So my last story was really actually funny. Again in undergrad, and just I think a freshman or sophomore asks me, oh, Nama, you know, where are you from? And I'm about to answer, and he's like, well, wait, let me guess. I'm like, okay. He's like, are you from India? And I just look at him, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm trying very hard to stay calm, and I'm like, India. And in my mind, I'm like, I've never gotten that before, except for my Desi friends, who's like, when I wear a sari, they say I could pass as Indian, but that's not. Weird. And then he's like, okay. He said, what about that other country where they wear those things? I'm like, what? He's just like, oh, you're from Afghanistan. And my smile just keeps going away, and I'm like, no, not quite. And then he's just like, okay, never mind, I give up. Where are you from? And I gather my, composure and posture and politely say, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. And then his face just goes red. And he's just like, are you upset? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just wondering how you got India and Afghanistan. And then I made a funny little comic strip about that, with the process of what I was thinking at the time. I'm like, well, maybe if I had a bindi, I look more Indian.
You hold it up a little.
Sure. And at the end I just conclude, I'm like, maybe if I had hair, he'd believe me. I mean, I don't know. So my identity seems to cause people more confusion than it does to myself. I don't realize that I look different unless it's pointed out. But now it's all I think about.